Alright, when you first open Rhino, there's a few things that I like to do to set my interface. It makes it easier for me to navigate around it, work a lot quicker, and especially finding all my tools right in front of me. So I'm going to go here and just normally your object properties, which you can find in this menu here, when it opens, just grab the blue tab and put it anywhere you want. So I'm going to put it right below the layers tab because I'll always be using it. On a layer, I'd like to create a few layers here. Drop my default to the bottom. And take these top two layers and make it a yellow. First one, we're going to make it a wires layer. I'd recommend if you're building your meshes with wires, they should all be categorized. Make a parts folder. Take these two layers and put it right under the wires, and immediately I'll make a nice light blue layer. Make this a little bigger because I kind of want to see what you're working with. There you go. You got to be able to see the name. That's what you're looking for. Next one, I'm going to make it a nice green. We'll call this wire 1, wire 2. Make a couple of more layers. I'm going to shift select the next one so you can select the next two over and put it right under the wire, under parts. If you're working in jewelry, you need to have, be working a lot of parts and a lot of wires. So for part colors, I like to use very subtle colors like orange and definitely like a brown. Make sure you drag it there. Alright, it looks like, missing one more. We can call these the dims layer. Dims is short for dimensions. I recommend putting it at the top. So that's a pretty good setup I like to use. Very organized. If you collapse them all, see, you give it to another person to work with and they can find things very easily. Next thing I like to do is, I'll type in my options key. Let's go through the top here. Limitation, I don't know what that is. I don't really mess with that. On my grid, I like to go with 100. I'm going to tab down to major every lines and make it 5. These are all fine. Mesh, jagging faster is good for your speed of your computer. You don't need to work in high res. Rendering, let's go to, we're not dealing with that. Render frame, not really dealing with that either. Units, I'm not touching that really, it's not important to me. Rhino options, blur, no. Appearance, let's see, no, I don't really mess with that. Files, don't need to create a backup. I like to save every 5 minutes. I like to click in this box here and make sure it's always saving to the desktop. So every 5 minutes, the file you're working on will always be saved onto the desktop, so you don't have to keep, if you ever forget to save and your computer crashes, always know that the file on the desktop will be the last file you've saved with every 5-minute interval. So let's go down your search paths. I don't know what that is. General, maximum number of undos is 100, so no need to go anymore. We'll go back to this shortcut keys in a bit, but first I want to make sure my F12 is your options button. Let's go to your modeling aids. Change your ortho snap to 22.5. Smart track will turn, will uncheck your enable smart track. Cursor tips, I like to check that and have everything checked. Actually, I don't need that on. I don't really use that. Gumball, it's great. Mouse, plugins, rendering, toolbars. I don't really do any of these stuff, so not important to me. Okay, this is something I do a lot. Viewport properties, we're going to check single click maximize. Let's jump back to files, actually modeling aids. You don't want to snap to locked objects. You don't want to project to C-plane. Okay, now jumping back to view. Let's go into your display mode. So in wireframe, I like to make edge thickness 1. Everything else looks good. Shaded. Let's see. Custom material usage. Back face, very important. Let's go to your customize button. We'll override, click this gray, make it sea green. You always want to make sure that the back face is a color you can notify immediately, and sea green is a really good color. Let's scroll down, and edge thickness, let's change that to 1. Looks good. Then grid, objects, let's maximize that. Surfaces, let's go to surface edge settings, and I usually like to make the color, let's find like 70 or 65. I'll show you what this is in a second. Surface isocurve settings, let's change that one to same number, so 65. Let me demonstrate. So if we go to your primitives and just create a ball and shade it real quick, you can see that the edges are really nice, especially if you apply a nice color to it. The edge thicknesses are not so obnoxious. Hit F12 to go back to your options key. That's the reason why I made it. Let's go to your objects. Where can we find the... Okay, for your gloss finish, let's shoot it back down to 0. We don't need intent. You don't need your meshes to be shiny. It's no need for it. Okay. Rendered looks good. Ghosted, I don't like glossy on it. I like it to be 65 transparency with an edge thickness of 1. That's about it. Now let's go over here to your keyboard. This is probably going to take the longest, and I would recommend watching this video over in case if I went too fast. Okay, so F1, select surfaces. F2 is my rotate. I'll show you why I did this in a second. F3, I'm going to change that to SCL poly SRF. So this is your single surfaces, this is your poly surfaces. F4 is 0, 0, 0. This represents if you ever do a mirror from 0 or move from 0, the F4 key is the instant button. F5 is your mirror. F6 is your move. F7 is your copy. F8, 0 is usually a good button to make it nothing. F9, 0. I don't want to hit snap by accident, so these are not important. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down here. A is good, B is good. Actually B, let's make that Boolean split. Control C is cap. Do that a lot. Control D is Boolean difference. Control E is extrude CRV. Control F is fillet edge. Control G is good. Control I is good. O, right. Control Q, I like to make it quit, so close your Rhino. Control R is my sweep 1. Control S, I would not recommend making Control S your save. I would recommend making Control S your split, because the last thing you want to do is save over a file. You want to make sure you always save as iterations. Control X is my delete. Let's see. Control W, I would recommend making that lock. Control Shift A, I like to use that as the array polar command. Control Shift C, I like it to make network, is it CRV or SRF? I'm not sure. Let's find out. It was good to test it, so yeah. It's network SRF. Good. If you don't know what these commands are, I would go through all of them and like play with it. I'm pretty sure most of you know it. I just want to show you how to make your get your commands quicker. And if you notice what I'm doing, I'm not going with the usual command exclamation underscore. I'm just going straight to underscore. It works the same way. Distance is Control Shift D. Use that a lot. Control Shift E. Let's see, what would I use that for? Nothing really. So Control Shift F is my fillet. Control, that's fine. I like to make that the import. Let's see, Control Shift O, I'm sorry, is orient on SRF. Control Shift R is the sweep to. Control Shift S is the save as. Remember we made Control W the lock. Control Shift W will be the unlock. Okay. Believe me, these will be very important in your modeling process. You always need to lock and unlock stuff because you don't want them in the way and you need references. Control Shift X is, I'm not sure, but I should make that my loft command. I do it a lot. Control Alt A is my array CRV. Control Alt E, I like to use that as the export command. Control Alt R is rebuild. Control Alt S, that's fine. Control 0 is my save. If you notice, I like to make Control and 0 very hard button to make a mistake pressing. That's why. Control 1, make that your scale 1D. Control 2 is your scale 2D. Control 3 is scale 3D. Control 4 is your calculator. Cool. Looks like I set that up nicely. If you're asking me why I made the F1 and F2, F3, why did I set those up? There's a reason why. If we go here and build a object, I'm going to hit the F4 key to build it from 0. I take this thing here and move it over here. Now if I want to rotate, just hit F2 then F4. It's very quick to do your rotations. If I wanted to mirror, F5, F4. If I wanted to move, F6, F4. I mean from F4, which is another name for 0. I can copy from F6 from 0, which is F6, I mean F7, F4. And again, rotate just to repeat, F2, F4. Very quick. Alright. Middle mouse key. Set this up with my tools that I use 90% of the time. You have your analyze direction, show edges, join naked edges. You can find these menus in here. They're all here. You have your lock, unlock, your shaded viewport. This is, I don't need that. If you need to get rid of something, just hold the shift key and drag outside, yes. If you want to bring something in here, just hold the control key and it will apply in there. Have your join explode. This is a very cool tool, this lock. So if I have a square, let's make a bunch of copies of these. If I want to work on just these two and lock the rest, just click that. You notice that they're locked. I can hit the Control Shift W to unlock everything. Again, remember Control W is lock, so if I hit Control W, I'll lock it. You can lock those things too, and hit Control Shift W to unlock everything again. I made Control X my delete. See it here. Don't make it cut, make it always delete. This is the inverse tool. So if I have something, if I want to select something and hide everything else that's not selected, just select that tool. Very, very useful. These things right here. One thing I'm going to make sure I want to note to all of you guys that are using this middle mouse button, if you decide to use it, is this is the most important tool of Rhino. the zoom selected key. I'm going to move it right to the middle, but first I'm going to close this. Keep an eye on where my mouse is, and when I hit the middle mouse button, I want to make sure that it's right when I hit the middle mouse key. That's right dead center. Okay, so let's move all these things next to it. I like to have this there, and this one right next to it. There we go. There you go. So if your screen is all the way like lopsided, you're lost, and you just want to center what you have selected on the screen. My middle mouse key and right click. See, very good way to model. You could center things very quickly when you right click. Usually this is not a good way to model. You never want to pivot around the center of the 0. You always want to pivot around the model you're working on, alright? So, something I like to do. Continuing with this, make sure you have your offset curve on surface command, your loft, your box, your primitive tools, your piping tool, your viewport tool, your hide and show objects, sphere, this is your patch, rectangular plane, offset surface, boolean, which has the other stuff in here. Project on surface, this is the inverse, this is zoom selected, duplicate edge, extract isocurve, object intersection, array and CRV, create UV, 3-point circle, 3 circle from tangent surfaces, tangent curves, I'm sorry, point tool, polygon tool, your oval ellipse from diameter. This is your rotated dimension, so you can measure any distance from any angle. This is linear dimensions. Polyline tool, rectangular arc, your circle, draw on surface. Curve tool, this is the in-between tool. Offset curve, diameter, text, your select all points and select all curves. This is the way I set up my Rhino. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me on Facebook or LinkedIn, but I hope this was somewhat of a help to you guys, and stay tuned for more videos. And before I let go, before you quit Rhino, okay, make sure that you hit File, Save as Template. Of course, it's not following the thing correctly, but make sure you always do File, Save as Template, and you will see your options for save to small, save to and make sure you always save as template. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and see you soon.